Good day, students. In today's class, we will be looking into management and administration, which comes in Unit 4 of the company law. So here we would be looking into about directors, their legal position, their powers, duties, qualification, and disqualification. We would move through one after the other. So, who is a director? So, Section 2 of 34, as per Companies Act, it defines director as a person or a director appointed by the board of a company. Next, we would look into legal position of directors. So, directors, they act as agents, they act as trustees, they act as managing partners of the company, they act as organs of the company, they act as employee, they act as officers of the company. So, first one, agents. So, it is a relationship between the principal and agent. So, on behalf of the principal, the agent entering into contract. So, similarly, on behalf of the company, the director would manage the affairs of the company. Next one, he acts as trustee in securing the assets of the company. He acts as a trustee for the company. Third is managing partner. So, a director would act as a managing partner of the company. And fourth is organ of the company. So, like a human body where brain plays a very important role of directing every other organs in our body. Similarly, here director plays a very important role of directing everyone in the organization. Next, he acts as that of an employee. As he is an employed person of the company, he is an employee as well. He is an officer of the company because he is looking into the daily affairs of the company. Moving on to the next, it is about the minimum requirements. In case if it is a public company, then there can be a minimum of 3 directors in the company. In case if it is a private company, then there could be a minimum of 2 directors in the company. In case if it is a one-person company, then it requires 1 director. And as well, if you see, a company can appoint up to maximum of 15 directors. And there should be resident director, which means that the director should be in the country in the previous year for 182 days. He should have stayed for at least 182 days in the country. And every company should have a women director. So these are the minimum requirements. Next, let us move on to classification of directors. So there are 3 classifications here. If you see, the first one is based on categories, second one is based on appointment, third is based on listing agreements. So first one, it is based on categories. Based on categories, we classify directors as managing director and a whole-time director. Managing director, one who looks after the entire affairs of the company. Whole-time director, he is a whole-time director of the company where he lends his entire time for the organization's official purpose. Next one is based on appointment. Director is classified into first director. So first director is a person, preferably if you see first director, he would be the promoter of the company. So it is that the first director, either they would be appointed at the time of registration or during the time of incorporation itself, the first director would be appointed, and this first director would hold office till first annual general meeting. Second one is residential director. As we have seen already, the director should have stayed in the country for at least 182 days in the previous year. Okay. Next is casual directors. This director is appointed because there arises vacancy due to resignation of a director, death of a director, or because a director was insolvent and he was disqualified. Because of that, in case if there arises vacancy in director's position, then a director would be appointed there, which is called as casual directors. Next, the fourth one is additional directors. So in case of the company's articles of association is permitting for having additional directors, then the board can always appoint additional directors to look into the affairs of the company. Next one, we have additional directors. Next we have alternate directors. Alternate directors are those directors who act in presence of original directors. So when I mean original directors, they are the directors who are acting, but then they are absent for a period of 3 months. Okay, in case if they are absent for a period of 3 months, in their absence, a director could be appointed and he is called as an alternate director. Sixth talks about small shareholder director. Small shareholder director means they are appointed by shareholders. So in case of a company has 1,000 plus shareholders, then those shareholders together, they appoint a director to safeguard their interest. Then the person is called a small shareholders director. Next we have shadow director and de facto director, more or less the same. Where they are not officially been appointed, a shadow director would have some power to give professional advice, and he would be into the affairs of the company. Next we have rotational director. Rotational director is in every company, 2/3 of directors should be rotational directors. Next is women director. Every company would have a women director. Next is a nominee director. When we say nominee directors are appointed by third party. Third party in the sense debenture holders, bankers or financial institutions together, they will appoint a person as a nominee director. This nominee director would represent those people, and he would be a person to safeguard the interest of those who have lended loan to the company. Next, director by central government. Director by central government is appointed when at least 1/10 of shareholders who have voting power, when they request central government to have a director, then central government itself would appoint a director to safeguard the interest of those having majority of voting power. So moving on to the third classification, it is based on listing agreements. We classify it into executive director, non-executive, and independent director. When it is executive director, it could be a managing director or a whole-time director will fall in this category of executive director. Non-executive director. When we say non-executive director, it is that they don't look into the affairs of the company on a day-to-day basis. Independent directors, they don't have any material relationship with that of the company. They just act as a watchdog for the company. So these are the major three classification of directors. Hope you understood. Moving on to the next topic, it is appointment procedure. So appointment procedure in order to appoint a director, as we have seen in classification itself, maybe in case if he is an alternate director, then if at all the original director is absent for a period of 3 months or more, then an alternate director will be appointed, a nominee director who is selected by a third party. So directors, based on specific reasons, based on specific occasions, they are being appointed in the company. So every director must be appointed in the company. During general meeting, a resolution has to be passed and the directors are being appointed. The director should file his consent in form DIR2 before appointment is being made, and the company also should file DIR12 where it contains the particulars of appointment along with DIR2, which is submitted by the director within 30 days of appointment. It has to be submitted. This is about the appointment procedure. Then moving on to resignation and removal of directors. So it is that a director may resign by giving notice in writing, and the board must take note and inform the registrar and form DIR 12 within 30 days. And the resigning director also must forward a copy of resignation along with detailed reasons to the registrar in form DIR 11 within 30 days. So it is that the resigning director also has to forward copy of resignation along with the details to the registrar, as well as the board also has to inform the registrar. So it is that the director as well as board has to inform the registrar within 30 days. They'll have to inform the registrar about the resignation of director. And though the director is resigning, director is responsible for any offense that he has done during his period in the company. So that's very important here. Next, moving on to disqualification of directors. So disqualification, when would be the directors be disqualified? In case of they are declared insolvent, in case if they are convicted of any offense, or court has disqualified them, or in case if they have not paid any calls of shares for a period of 6 months, in case if they have not obtained director identification number, then they would be disqualified. Moving on to director's identification number. What is director identification number? It is that it is an 8-digit number which is given to the director. The director or an individual has to apply to the central government to obtain this director identification number. While applying, he has to file form DIR 4 with the central government, as well as he has to upload all his necessary details, his residential address, his photograph, along with his digital signature. Everything has to be uploaded in the form. So after he does everything, within a month's time, he will be receiving director identification number. And as well, the company also has to inform the director that he has obtained director identification number. So this has lifetime validity. This has lifetime validity. Next, moving on to directorship. So maximum number of directorship a person can hold is 20, and a person can be appointed as director for about 10 public companies. So coming to powers of directors. So these are certain powers of director: to make calls on shareholders, to authorize buyback of securities, to invest funds of the company, to grant loans or to give guarantee, to approve financial statements and board's report, to take over the company and acquire a controlling of substantial stake in another company. So these are also certain general things, certain general powers that the director vests up in the company. And restrictions on powers requiring special resolution. So certain things require special resolution. In case if the director is wanting to sell or lease the undertaking of the company, then a special resolution has to be passed in the general meeting. In order to borrow money, and when the money is exceeding the paid up capital, then it requires board approval, as well as a special resolution has to be passed in the meeting. So these are certain restrictions imposed upon the directors, where they'll have to wait for the approval in the meetings. And certain other powers, if you see charitable contributions, they can make always charitable contributions. But then in case if it is exceeding 5% of its average net profits of the 3 preceding year, then ordinary resolution has to be passed in the meeting. Secondly, the director has power to form committees. So what committees he has rights to form is, or he forms audit committee, he can form nomination and remuneration committee, stakeholder relationship committee. So these are the 3 committees which the director has rights to form, as well as the director has rights for political contribution. So up to 7.5% of average net profit. But then again, in a general meeting, a board resolution has to be passed. And these are duties of directors. So director has to act in good faith to promote the objective of the company, and he has to act in accordance with the articles of association. Whatever is mentioned there, he has to act accordingly. He has to refrain himself from the situations that conflict with the interest of the company. He should not attempt or achieve any undue gain or advantage for himself or for his relatives or for his partners or associates. In case if he is found guilty, then he must pay the gain back to the company, so he has to be very careful. So in case if he is acting in contradictory to the provisions of the act, then he would be punishable with a fine of not less than 1 lakh, but which might extend up to 5 lakhs of rupees. So I hope in this video you would have had a very clear idea about director, who is a director. What are the classification of director? When we saw about the classification of director itself, it is understood as how a director would be appointed and in what situation a director would be appointed. It would have been very clear for you. We also saw about the legal positions that arise for a director in the company. The legal positions we saw about the qualification of director, then we saw about disqualification of director, then resignation, we saw about resignation and removal of director. As well, we looked into director's identification number, which is an 8-digit number given to the director, and it has a validity for the lifetime. And it is also helpful for government to track the director's position in the company. In case if the director is involved in any fraudulent activity, then immediately government will take action. So this then is very important for the director. And finally, we saw about the powers of director and duties of director. We'll see in another video. Until then, thank you.